Mm-hmm. Are you Jen this morning, Mara?
I'm waiting for Jen so that she can do it from home and not have to come in. So as soon as she comes on, I'm making her host or co-host. And then I am going back down to my office. Oh, here she is.
Yeah, okay. Hi, sorry.
You're fine. Hold on. Okay, I've just switched you over to co-host. And then
Mara, I can't hear you. I don't know what the deal is. Is this me? Is this a me thing?
I think it's a you thing.
Jen, can you hear me?
I can't hear anybody. This is weird. Hey, do you have the microphones on?
Yes.
Is it that?
Hey, Mara,
Yes.
can you make someone like me co-host so you don't get stuck here?
Yeah, I think we're fine. Let me
Oh,
wait.
Jen is connecting to audio. Okay.
Yeah, let's give her another minute to see if she can.
See if she can connect. Okay. If not, then you can make me co-host and I'll figure it out. So you can go do your real job here.
It's 8 a.m. We're all good. Oh, I got another attendee.
Good morning, all.
Morning.
Don.
Happy New Year.
Yep. Happy New Year. Oh, there's my phone. Hang on.
And I'm putting her over twice.
Catherine, good morning. We have a guest.
Morning, how are you?
Morning.
Morning.
Back. I just don't know what the deal is here.
Well, that was Katie, yeah. I don't know what the issue is here.
And I would say,
Follow
Jennifer,
me.
for those that are all on, Jen is trying to host from
Katie,
home,
it's Jerry.
and she's having problems with sound.
What's going on? Yeah, for some reason my computer isn't like I can see everybody, but I'm not on the meeting, but I'm getting there. So
Okay, so you can see we got another. Well, we're having trouble getting Jen in too, so try again. Okay, good enough. Okay, thanks. Bye-bye. Katie's having trouble getting in too. She thinks it's her computer. She can hear all of us, but she can't see anybody and we can't hear her.
Yeah, I saw her and I moved her over.
Moved her,
Oh, I tried to move her over. She came in not as a panelist and I moved her over, but then she disappeared.
okay.
Okay, so Jennifer's
Hi
saying,
guys.
oh, there you are.
I can't
Hi,
hear you.
Jen.
Oh, she can't hear us. She said she can listen to the recording later. Hold on a second. Let me try calling her.
Where's Jennifer?
Well, she's there. She can't hear us.
Hello. No, I can't hear you.
So quick question. I
Yeah.
know it's totally stupid and silly. Have you just tried turning the volume up on? your-
Yes,
and
many
even that won't work?
times.
And then if you tried on the right, down on the sound, check, sometimes there's multiple things that you can pick, like on our laptop at work.
Yeah. It's
And, like,
not-
You've tried both sets of speakers.
I have. This is delightful.
Oh, wait, hold on. I have another attendee. Let me,
Yeah, that's Lauren.
It's Lauren.
no, Katie. I'm moving
Oh.
her over. Katie's been having problems. I'm trying to move her over as panelist.
Yes, she
Yeah.
can't hear me. Nobody can
I
hear me.
mean, I've gone into settings and all sorts of stuff. If you guys can hear me, it shouldn't be a problem with the, I don't know, man.
We can all hear you.
There's Katie.
Katie,
I've got text.
Jennifer, I've had this
support
happen to me
here,
and
poking buttons.
are you can you dial in for, are you already dialed in for audio with the phone number?
No, I can.
Yeah, that's what I've done before. I've had my computer have audio issues before and I've just dialed in and used my phone as like the speaker.
Yeah.
Which
Okay,
is
I'll
annoying,
hang up
but-
with you, Jen. if
Okay.
you wanna try that.
Sounds good. Thanks. Bye.
Okay, bye.
I think we have everybody here, including our our chair, who's able to run this meeting.
Okay, can you hear
And-
me?
yes,
Okay,
Yes.
oh, cool.
And Katie, we have Catherine Mogul with us too for our discussion of Earth Rabbit.
Any numbers. Please re-enter your meeting ID followed by pound.
I don't think I can get sound yet. Can you hear me?
You have not entered any numbers.
yes.
Please re-enter your meeting ID followed by
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Hi, Catherine.
Good morning.
Okay, so should we hold out for another minute? I apologize about my dog. I would mute myself, but then it's harder to run a meeting.
Mute the dog.
Mute the dog. I think she's gonna settle down here in just a minute. It got really exciting here for a minute, and so she's still reacting to that.
It's all the visitors.
It is, it's all, it's everybody getting together and having big parties and yeah.
Yeah,
So hello, everyone. How is everyone? Have a
good.
good holiday, everybody.
Yeah.
2021 off to a good start so far?
Yes.
Excellent, excellent. All right, well, I apologize for my own technical difficulties there getting in. Jennifer, are you with us? I'm gonna assume, yes, I see your name. So I'm gonna assume we've got roll called. Have we covered this?
I would
already?
assume that, yeah.
Okay. And did everybody have a chance to take a look at the minutes really fast?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
I so move.
Marilyn, was that you? So,
Second.
Can I, there's one correction, it's minor, but the report on the signage was from me, not from Don. I think it's listed in the minutes as from Don, so.
all right. Okay, thank you, Judy. We'll get that correction made. Were there any other corrections, comments? No? All right, so then Marilyn has moved, and I believe Patrick, did I hear that you seconded? Was that, yeah, okay. So those in favor of approving the minutes with that one correction?
Aye.
Aye. Yeah. Okay, anyone opposed? Awesome. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started then. I think the first order of business is to discuss, I believe, actually, it's the orientation of the rabbit more than the location of the rabbit, right? Is that, and Jerry, I don't know if you want to speak to this as a, like you want to get us started on this discussion?
Yes, I guess I can. I think you've all been down to see Earth Rabbit. And Scott is here to talk about why it was oriented toward the pool. And that may be okay. We're not sure whether that's the proper way to have Earth Rabbit sit or not. And Catherine is here to talk about that also. So it's just a discussion of whether or not the orientation toward the pool is the right way to keep that sculpture, or whether or not we can turn it. So I think maybe Scott can tell us why he placed it the way he did. And Catherine, you should weigh in too on whether or not it should be reoriented.
Good morning. So
Hi.
we placed it there in the idea that we'd be able to light it off of the electricity that's already in the ground that runs along that drive lane between the two light poles that are there, and or off of the building from the aquatic center, and that people would be able to see it well as they enter and exit from the aquatic center. That's why we oriented it that way. It can certainly be spun 90 and face towards the east, towards the parking lot drive lane, as opposed to the drive lane that goes in front of the aquatic center, if that's what you all.
Okay. Scott, I think you just froze.
Yeah, he did just freeze.
But I think, I mean, so starting from that, Catherine, do you have a comment about?
Yeah, yes, I drove by and I guess my first instinct was it looked like it was backwards, kind of. And I thought, well, maybe that's what you wanted. I wasn't sure. I hate to make anybody's life miserable. Though, you know, when you drive by, I think it might look better facing, you know, when you drive in, it might look better facing that way, you know, like.
From Glendale, you mean? Drive in from Glendale?
Yeah, drive, you know, when you drive in that drive and come towards the aquatic center, but not.
The facing south.
I guess that would be south.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're kind of looking at a side when you're coming in. It might be nice to have them greet you. Now, I don't know how hard that is to do, actually. So I don't know. It's just my opinion, but I don't know if it's a hard move to make or anything like that. I just thought it might look better facing, but there is kind of a tree there too. So I'm not sure if that's gonna block it or not, but if I had to choose, I would say when you're driving in, it'd be nice to see you know, him facing you, not necessarily the rec or the parking lot. You know, when you drive around, you kind of drive and see the back first, because you come through the parking lot and then to the front, I think. I mean, that's what I did. I don't know if that's the way it goes, but it was just an observation. I think it could be in a more welcoming position, but again, like I said, I don't know how hard it is to try to move it once it's there. So I don't know what anybody else thought when they drove by. Maybe you don't have that same feeling at all, but.
Were there other comments? I mean, has everyone had a chance to drive by and look at it?
Well,
For the reactions?
I kind of agreed with Catherine a little bit. I just thought it had already been decided. You know what I mean? Like that was the way it had to be for some reason. I think it's placed between the trees is perfect. So it just seems to me it should be a 180, you know, facing out.
Yeah, I go.
To be
I-
more like it's more like the sign of where the pool entrance is in a way, you know, but I just figured that had already been discussed and that's how it, you know, had to go, but if it could be turned, I think it's a stronger statement. You'd see it better. And if you really wanted to come up and observe it, you'd have the whole parking lot in front of you, you know?
Yeah, I have to say, I always assumed that's how it was going to be placed. I mean, it didn't occur to me that it wouldn't be placed that way. So
Yeah.
and I think Catherine's opinion counts for a lot. I think if
I think Catherine is talking about facing it. Okay, I'm going to get confused in my directions. You're talking about facing it south, so it would be facing out towards Glendale. And John and Judy, you're actually talking about facing it, would that be east?
No,
Yeah.
talking about also facing south as you
Oh,
come
you're
in.
talking about facing south. Okay.
I think that would be, it wouldn't be, to me, it wouldn't be facing that way. It would be not centered in that setting of that little park, you know, or that little grassy area. That's why I just thought 180, he's in front or she's in front of the pool. And maybe it's because I almost always come in the other way. So, you know, I see it the other way. Even going to the pool or anything, I come in off of the other entrance. So that could be just personal, but you know, I just think facing the pool is sort of an ending that I don't, it doesn't seem right to me. But if it has to be there, it's fine. It's still a beautiful sculpture and it, you know, it makes a nice impression.
But if it's turned then to 180 facing east, it's a welcoming thing so that people see it and then they want to enter the aquatic building.
Also, he's facing the rising sun in his pose, you know, it seems like that's the pose you would have, or you usually have when you are
For another
facing the sun, you know.
Funny.
So do we know how hard it is to move at this point?
To switch it 180 and face it east would not be an issue. It's a couple hours worth of work and a couple pieces of equipment. To rotate it 90 and face it south could be more. I'd have to go remeasure. We set the pad up to face it in that east-west orientation. So the structure is not completely square. So to twist it just 90, it would probably work, but I can't say 100% without walking out there and putting a tape measure on it.
Does anybody else have anything to throw in here? Don, I thought you were.
Actually, I'm at the rec center, so why don't we'll just walk out. If you guys don't mind a shaky video while I walk out there, I'm happy to do so. If you want to jump to your next topic, if you'd like me to do that.
Good. Will you take your camera with you? So
Yeah,
we can take
I'm on my phone,
Okay.
so I'll take my phone with me. If you want to jump to your next topic and give me 2 minutes to walk out there, then I can put the video on it and you guys can see what we're looking at if you want.
Great.
Thank you, Scott.
Thanks.
That's awesome. Well, does anybody else have any thoughts about this? Does anybody want to jump in here on the conversation?
I drove by. I think either facing, like, I think it would be odd, even though I like the idea of it greeting the sun, to have it facing east, because then when you're coming out of the pool, you see its back. I just don't think that would be. I think you get a lot of traffic of people who are going to be coming that way and seeing it, and I think that will feel a little odd. I like it either facing south or facing west, in my opinion, but.
Fair enough.
I like the idea of facing south too, because of that long drive coming in. And that's where you, I think, most appreciate it on approach. And then once you're in there, you can appreciate it from all sides. But I agree. I think south might be the best, but yeah, I'd be curious to see what Scott has to say about the pad.
I do have sort of a notion that it is sort of centered between a couple of trees though. So I do think if we face it south, we're kind of going to lose the whole thing because it'll be pointed at a tree. I guess Scott's headed out.
I think when that tree leaves out, you'll be wanting to take the tree out, you know, because
You won't see
Okay,
it.
then just I just got
About the
distracted by
face, I'm
Scott's
afraid.
mask. Scott, I love your mask. That's hysterical.
So here is the western facing right now, looking towards the pool. If we went to the south, you will have that tree, like y'all are talking in the way. I'm going to walk directly down here, trying to get by this car that's driving.
The
So
tree's
you
gonna
will
get
have that
bigger-
tree.
Bigger
that's-
and bigger when the leaves come out too.
Yeah. But, you know, as you drive in this way, you would be able to. I'm walking down the drive lane right now. So you would be able to see it a little bit. And then this is obviously, now I'm walking into the parking lot. This is the, if you faced it this way, this would be facing to the east.
And even more prominent with the rising sun there, as John said.
Well, and I do love the fact that every single person who takes a picture of their kids sitting on that and posts it is also going to be posting a picture of the rec center right behind
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
Instead of the parking lot.
instead of the parking lot.
Parking lot. Mhm.
You know, the other thing, this is a little bit off base, but when I kind of thought of it facing that way, you know, there's about 5 or 6 parking spots there that could be left as an emergency thing, but you could also put a couple of benches or, you know, you would lose a couple of spaces, which I don't know that that would be suitable, but.
Can't lose any parking spaces.
Hmm?
Oh dear.
Okay, never mind.
Very defensive of parking spots.
Hold on.
Well, I guess just as a sort of a point of reference, I'm suddenly thinking about the statue of King Louis at the art museum, right? I mean, he's across a drive from the front of the art museum, but he's definitely faced totally out away from the building.
He's greeting you there. It's supposed to like saying goodbye to you. He's greeting everybody, you know, that's what I think. And that's why it would be facing out, sort of like a hood ornament on your car. You know, it always faces out. The old timers, it's like a sculptural item, you know, it's projecting out rather than back in.
Yeah,
What
the
is-
masthead on a ship too, John.
Yes.
I'm the 180 is sounding better and better to me.
Yeah, it's welcoming you that way. Otherwise, you've got the rear end to look at.
This must be the place.
That grab you, Catherine, in terms of orientation.
I agree with you, just, you know, 180 is fine. I think it'll look better than seeing the rear end first. I mean,
And I do think it answers also to John's point, because I also tend to come in from the north side instead of coming
Yeah.
up from the south side. I think a lot of people do, and that way everybody kind of gets the front.
Yes, I would say probably 70% of our traffic comes in off Ambrose Way.
Yeah,
Ooh.
that's the north, so.
Yeah.
Well,
And I'd
most-
forgotten that it kind of splits off there in terms of like the cars go off and would be in front of it versus people coming and seeing it from the back. So I don't have an issue with, because I forgot that it's kind of on that little island piece, I guess.
There's definitely more traffic on the east side than there is between it and the aquatic center on the west side. So if you're trying to get the most views from the front, traffic wise, it would be facing east. Foot traffic wise would be facing west, coming in and out of the aquatic center, but those people still got to get in their cars and drive by it on the east side. So
Scott, was there any plan or proposal for a walkway to get up to it, or at least a circular pad of where people walk up to it? Is there any room in the budget for that?
we had not. We were planning on planting the grass around it, the turf grass around it, and then probably doing letting Yvonne do her magic and place some plantings around it to enhance it. But people would be able to walk up on the turf grass to get to it to view it or take pictures with it. So no, I did not have plans for a sidewalk to get to it or a circular pad for people to walk around it on, but it will be accessible to get to it.
Now, Scott, when you were talking about the lighting, is there a way to get lighting on the face of it if the face is faced out to the parking lot, or am I not understanding where
So
the
let me turn it back around. So that is possible. On the eastern side, the western side where it's sitting right now, we have this light post right here, and there's another one on the other side. There's electric conduit in the ground already. And so the plan was we were just going to grab that electrical conduit in the ground, basically right here off the curb line, which would be able to shine right up at her, to run some, which that wouldn't cost very much at all. I muted myself instead of turning the screen. That wouldn't cost very much at all. If we spin it 180 to get electric to the other side of it, there's going to be some more costs. Could be significant-ish to the tune of maybe, I don't have a quote on it. I'm just guessing right now. Let's say 4,000 maybe, because we're going to have to trench in new electric. There is some underground utilities in this island that we may encounter. We may not. I'd have to dig right back out to locate all those, because we only located where the pad was at right now. So possible, but it can be done. It's only dollars. Everything can be done.
Catherine, I'm sorry, I missed that. Were you waving your hand?
I just had a question. That price is to move it somewhere else totally, or just to turn it?
That would be turning it is free. That would be to put electric on it if we turn it.
Okay. Oh, I get it. Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
Or put lighting on it, not electric. Put lighting on it if we turn it.
the light, the front of it.
Yeah.
How much lighting is there in that parking lot? It wouldn't be enough, I suppose.
You can certainly see it. The whole parking lot, we just redid all the lighting in the parking lot. It's all brand new LED lights. So the parking lot is very bright, but it's not highlighting the sculpture. It's just lighting the area.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not featuring it. Correct.
Hadn't we talked about, there's no possibility of having a sort of a spotlight or something run from one of the lighting poles or anything like that?
Yeah, I think that's the $3,000 to $4,000.
Oh, is that? Oh, I thought he was talking about something on the ground kind of there.
Yeah, from the light poles, I measured them and talked with our electrician that was doing replacing our lighting in the parking lot, and they're all too far away for a spotlight to really throw and light it efficiently. So we need something closer to it, in the 8 to 10 foot, 6 to 10 foot range away from it to really light it up like it should be.
Have we ever experimented with solar? With any solar spotlights?
I have not in the park system, no.
Okay.
That's a great idea.
Well, Webster University did, but it doesn't look like they dug up the ground to get the spotlights on the other sculpture. I don't know though.
Mm-hmm.
They might.
Yeah, I wondered if they were using solar too, because you're right, they didn't dig to put those lights in.
Yeah, so they might just, might be.
Are they very bright at night right now with shorter days? I haven't driven by it at night to see.
They're not too bright, but that's probably to the benefit of some of the Ashford residents.
Yeah. Yeah, in the summertime, I don't see the solar, I don't think would be an issue. I think we could orient them and good enough and get enough hours of it. But on the shorter days, when it gets dark at 4 o'clock now, those solar powered cells don't get a whole lot of time to recharge sometimes. So they might go out by 8 o'clock or something.
Yeah, but then in the winter, there's not that many, you're not that out that late anyway, you
Trees.
know? And
Well, our
if
building's
you
still
don't
open
have-
until 10
And
or
also the parking lot
12
is
o'clock.
well lit, so it only has to highlight that sculpture for a, you know, seems like if it's solar, we would get some highlighting of that sculpture for a lot less. And if it didn't suffice, then maybe we could, you know, put that lighting on another budget plan in a future time and, you know, and upgrade it, but we'd still have the sculpture facing, you know, maybe the corrected position.
Well, if there's general lighting in the area from the parking lot, we also have to consider, I think, that any light that we throw on that, if we're going to get a highlighting effect, has to have enough candle power to overcome the light that's being cast on it from the parking lot, or you won't even notice that there's any light on it. And I don't know how much light or how much luminescence or candle power, you know, we're dealing with here, but we should probably consider that. Scott, does that make sense to you as a?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's why it needs to be something fairly close and can't be off one of the other light poles. Because it needs to be close enough that we can really spotlight that and not floodlight it from, you know, it's kind of getting floodlit already from the parking lot.
It has to overcome whatever
Correct.
the luminescence is, or it's
Yeah.
just a waste. Nobody will even notice that it's lit.
Well, it would tend to fill in any drop off of shadows or anything from the sculpture itself or the trees, you know. Anything here would add a little luminescence to it.
I do think the I'm speaking. You can hear me. I can hear you. I think the Webster University one is kind of in a similar position though, because they've got that well lit parking lot right there from Eden and everything. And I do drive by it at night and it seems pretty well lit. I mean, it's probably not bright enough that it's shining into the neighbor's windows, but it is like, it does, like John said, kind of highlight the actual sculpture and fills in the shadows. So.
But that's the issue. I mean, it's not appearing spotlit, it's simply visibility. And so I think that might be accomplished. I mean,
Yeah, it's it. I think it's like considering an embellishment to it as opposed to a, you know, a wayfinder. You know, it just has to add some dimension to it, and you could have a couple of them around it in a way to do that. If it was solar, you could add them or to subtract them very easily.
Do you think we should just make a decision for Scott about whether we're going to move it, turn it or not? And then once it's there, we can figure out see what the lighting situation is.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Jerry, because I'm not sure that the lighting is a deal breaker on this orientation.
Right.
So I guess just the question of the orientation of it, do we need a motion? Do we need to vote on this? Like, how do we want to?
I think we just
take a show of hands for people who would be in favor of the
show of hands. Yeah, I get. And we're talking about spinning it 180 so it faces out into the parking lot. Is that? So I guess who's in favor of that? Okay, pretty much, Lauren. I guess I'm getting it's unanimous. Does anybody want to leave it where it is? Okay, no? All right. Well, Scott, I hate to load more on your plate, but it sounds like maybe we'd like to have it turned 180 degrees. And then I guess if we can continue exploring what it would take then to light it, because I think it would be nice to have it lit at some point. But obviously if it's prohibitive budget-wise, we'll table that for future discussion.
Yep. I'll get it on the schedule to get it spun 180 facing towards the east, and I'll start the research and pricing on what it would take to light it via either solar or hardwired.
I can check the university, see what they used if you want, Scott.
Okay.
What if we
that's-
spun it 360?
Patrick. 780.
I'm just waking up.
It
Okay.
is the skate park after all.
Too much math. to
Why don't we
start.
put it on a turntable and it could just.
Yeah, just
turn?
put it on a permanent
There
so
was
it's
a
spinning.
politician who was
Yeah.
arguing with a fellow politician and said, my opinion is 360 degrees from yours.
Well, I guess, I don't know, the other discussion then about the rabbit, I think, has to do with the signage. And I don't know if we continue to discuss with, I mean, if we need Scott to be part of this discussion, or if we let him get on with his day.
You know, the only thing I would ask Scott, Scott, we're talking about signage for all of the pieces of art. And you have had some contacts with sign companies that maybe you could share with us.
Well, he did. He sent those contacts to me.
Oh, he did? Okay, then you've got them. Good. Thank you.
Yeah, the only thing I would request is that if we're setting signage, we just take note of how mowers and string trimmers react in and around them, so that we either put them on a concrete pad that keeps the mowers away, or locate them in a way that they don't get beat up by the mowers. We use contract mowings for a lot of our properties, like this island here, and so we want to. They're not always as careful as my staff would be around things of that nature. So it's just beefing them up once we go to set them in the ground.
Would there be a height issue? Like if it was a certain height, would that help?
I'm not sure that it's really a height issue. It's more a space around it issue. Whether, we get, like I said, get Yvonne to put some plantings around it to keep the mowers away, or whether we set a little 2x2 or 3x3 concrete pad and then install the sign on that pad or in that pad, just something to give it a little depth to keep the mower guys from hitting it, bumping it, using a string trimmer right against it to kind of beat them up. I think that's what happened to some of them down in the sculpture garden, is the string trimmers going around them, just kind of beat those guys up or whatnot.
Okay, well, I guess it sounds like we should initially make a decision then about what sort of signage we're going to use, and then we'll figure out how to situate it in order to limit the damage from equipment. Is that, okay. So I guess we can carry on with that discussion. Scott, I know you have other things on your day.
Nope, I'm done.
If you would like to join the discussion, you're more than welcome to stay with us.
Actually, they're turning off our water in about 20 minutes, so we're shutting
Oh,
the rec center
okay.
today. So,
Off you go then.
all right, thank you all very much. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Okay,
Guy.
he is awesome.
He's awesome. He is awesome.
Can we put
I
that
mean,
in the
this-
permanent record? Let's put that in the permanent record of minutes of this meeting.
Yes.
This is the only thing that you all have dealt with him, but he is really awesome.
Well, the best story I heard about Scott was waking his 10-year-old daughter up on her birthday to tell her that they were going to Disney World.
Oh.
Very
good
fun.
Yeah.
Okay, well, so moving on then to a discussion about signage. Judy, do you have more to tell us? Is there?
I confess I don't.
Okay.
I have not followed up from our last meeting, so yeah. So we'll have to.
Don, were you?
Maybe you were better than.
In graphics, they never got back with me, so I don't know if it just, because of the holidays or the time of year. So I'll hit them again next week.
I mean, we had our marching orders as to get the pricing. in
Yeah,
terms of
we
the-
have we had general pricings, but
And we also want to know if we ordered more. Those were the two questions. So to
Mhm.
get definite pricing in that material. So yeah, it should be something we can send out. I don't know that it has to wait a month. So yeah.
Could we ask Webster University? They have little signs now around after hours. I wonder where they got theirs and what that cost. I mean, they had it done very quickly. They're very cost conscious these days. Should, maybe Jen, when she asks them
Yeah.
about their lighting, she could ask them where they got those signs and how much they were.
I can do that.
They're not very big signs. I mean, they're
They're a
like,
little
I kind of thought we were talking about
bigger.
plaques.
Something bigger than that, yeah.
But it's still,
But, I mean, it's,
Graphic. I do have a contact there. We use them for our nameplates for city council. So I have people there that I talk to pretty frequently, if you want.
you mean at the company that makes signs? The
Heading
plaque?
graphics. You guys had talked about,
Oh, John did.
yeah.
yeah, actually, that'd be great. I mean, I think the more information we can gather together, the better of a decision we can make ultimately when we figure out what we're going to do next. Okay, well, does anybody else have anything more on the subject of the rabbit then? Besides kudos again and again to everybody who made this happen. I mean, it's a feat. And I have been getting pictures from friends of the rabbit who are so excited to see it finally going up.
Oh, good, that's good. That's Jerry. I know she worked hard
Yeah,
getting the rabbit here, and it was quite a feat. I don't know how she did it.
yeah,
Somehow, it's amazing to me. I don't know.
it's fantastic.
And Webster University is so excited about after hours. They're going to do a big celebration. And Catherine, you did a wonderful piece with Rennie Knott. Did they use that on one of their broadcasts?
Yes, it was a Wednesday morning, 6:30, 6 a.m. Show, and it is on my Facebook. I guess he posted it on Facebook. I thought it was pretty good.
It's an incredible piece. If you can send the link out in an email to me, I'll get it off to everybody.
Can do
But
that.
the piece gives, Catherine gives you a wonderful historical perspective on the after hours piece that is incredibly educational. So everybody should see that.
Yeah,
Well,
no,
yeah.
that's fantastic. Please send that.
Yeah, sorry, I'll say, I don't know why I haven't, I know I have that link and I should send it to you via email. Yeah. And then
Thank you.
everybody can get it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a great guy. Full of energy. Yeah.
And that forms a fantastic segue into our next
Well, can I
point.
say thank you, Catherine. We're
Oh,
delighted.
Yes,
You're welcome. Thank you all.
Thanks.
yes. And Catherine, you're welcome to stick around. We're trying to discuss putting together some sort of a walking tour of art in the Webster area. And you're welcome to join the conversation.
I guess a little bit, yeah.
Okay, perfect. That's great. So yeah, so I think we've wrapped up the rabbit, right? Do we feel good about that? Okay. So did everybody have a chance to take a look at the other document that Jen sent everybody, which is this, it's what's on the website right now about the arts in Webster? Sort of to rehash for, because it was a long time ago that we talked about this, we had the idea of putting together some sort of a guided walk of the arts in Webster Groves, similar to the walks we have for historical buildings and important architecture. There are printed copies of this on the side of City Hall if you've been up there to look at it. We were talking about maybe even trying to put there something that would be more interactive on the computer so that people could walk around like with their phones and find out information and maybe link to things like an interview that explains the history of a piece and the stories on a piece. And as a starting point on that, we were trying to get a handle on the arts, I think, in Webster. So I don't know if anybody's had a chance to take a look at this, if there's comments, thoughts, corrections.
Well, there's a couple of corrections. I thought it was brand new, but probably
No,
everybody's
this
already
is
noticed them with Kruger and
6 years ago, I think we put this together. When did we
Oh.
put this together, Jeremy? It's been a while.
Mhm.
So yeah, so John, I mean, either fire away, or I guess if we send things to, who's the keeper of this? Do we send this to Jennifer? Do we?
Easier if you sent them or something like that than to fire them off right here, because I meant to print it out and bring it home with me, but I printed it and didn't bring it home. So I have it in front of me, and it would just be easier if I had it in writing. That
Yep.
way,
I have one right here in front of me. So if anybody has anything right now, I can work with Jen in getting this thing put together.
and I haven't even looked. I glanced at it when I sent it to you guys, and I was like, oh, that's old. So yeah, I really lost it there.
Yes, well, yeah, I mean, obviously, Webster Arts has changed their executive director. I think Insight Theater, I think, is no longer in Webster. I think, where did Kruger Pottery, did they move?
They moved Brentwood, I think.
Yeah.
Strathmore Drive, it's, I guess that might be Brentwood.
Yeah.
It might be Webster, but it might be Brentwood because it's right near their YMCA in that, right off of Brentwood Road.
That's Brentwood.
So that's
Oh, is it?
Brentwood.
Okay, yeah. That's a
Okay.
shame. Yeah.
And there's the Irish dance. I think they moved. I don't know where they moved, but
Does that exist?
it's not in the same location. I don't know if it.
I think I saw it somewhere.
Who's
I
that?
think on Hanley, by close to
Near-
Manchester, on the other
okay.
side of Manchester. So Maplewood.
Yeah. So
Which
I guess
was that?
all of those, as people think of them, maybe we can put those together. I think the other thing has to do with the art. Oh, here, I'm missing a page. That explains why I'm not seeing this. The public art sculptures, because I'm thinking, obviously, we now have Earth Rabbit to add to this.
And
We
after
added-
hours.
After hours in Barbary Park.
Form that this takes is not the ideal form. I think this was something we kind of put together because we were in a bit of a pinch when because the Explore site had closed and we needed a site. And so we were putting stuff together, and it was kind of just a like slapdash, like we need to get something in here. So we can also think about a better way to kind of combine all these things and format this, because this is not obviously an ideal format. A
So
download.
this is just a PDF that lives on the site. Is that what it is? Okay.
Yeah, it's in no way ideal. So just something to keep in mind.
Well, I'm almost wondering, sorry, Jerry, did you have?
Oh, I was just going to say there are multiple uses for this, what we might do in terms of a brochure, or what we might do in terms of a walking tour. I think or an audio tour are different. And I wanted us to do this before we put a budget together, because the historic preservation people have been doing this with some of the walking tours, and you can hire somebody who will do some of this work for you, put this together, take the photos, get somebody to do an audio for you. So that's why I was hoping we could at least have an idea of what we wanted to do before this year's budget items are due.
Catherine?
Well, I know I don't know exactly what you're doing because I don't have the paper in front of me, but one thing that we did at Columbia Bottoms Conservation Area is we created 9 exploration stations, and we put a mosaic on each one to represent that habitat, of Missouri. And what they did that I thought was really cool was they had this little booklet that they printed out, and it was mainly, could be for adults, but mainly for children, I felt like. And so the children could take the book around with them, and there were, they could take notes, they could do rubbings on some of the exploration stations, learn a little bit about the history, and it was kind of interactive with kids doing things in a little booklet that they could take with them then, which I thought was kind of a nice idea. I don't know if that's probably a lower budget idea than what you're thinking. I like the audio.
But I love the idea of an interactive thing. I mean, I think that's a great idea if we can lift out like particular sites or particular pieces that we could encourage some sort of involvement with, and particularly kids. I really like that idea too.
It'd be easy. I mean, one thing that we've done at the museum before is to do like a little like scavenger hunt. So it's like, as you're looking at a piece, like find something about it, or so that's an easy thing that if parents want to do that, they could just find it online and do it with their kids. It doesn't need a hard copy. So that's kind of a low hanging fruit. It's just, find a pointed toe, or whether, just whether each sculpture has something that you have to find and check off, or each piece.
Yeah, I love it. I think that's a great idea. I know they did one at the Botanical Garden about a year ago where somebody had gone around and taken fairly close-up pictures of elements of things throughout the Botanical Garden. And then the scavenger hunt was to go and find this flower or this stepping stone or this, which really encouraged, I think, people to get more engaged. Don, do you still have the map that you had made of the art locations through Webster, the art corridor and all?
Most of that was proposed, of spaces along the art corridor that were of interest to develop. But we never did anything of existing works. But that could easily be done. I think the online source is the key, so that it's easy to use. It's on everybody's cell phone. Developing an app of some sort, I would love to investigate that a little bit, but I don't have the IT knowledge to. Does anybody have any connections or no examples of what exists out there as far as an online resource for apps or programs that would do something like that?
There's a fellow who's been doing a lot of volunteer work for the Historic Preservation Commission. I can send you, if you're interested, it's Bill Wickman. He's been taking photographs of historic homes. He's been putting something together, and he's been doing all of this gratis for the just for the Webster walks. And there's a lot that commission is doing. So if somebody's interested, we could connect you with him.
Judy, is there any source at the art museum, or do you contract out with people when you do like the audio tours of exhibitions that would be relevant to this?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know the answer to that. We now do our own audio tours. So yeah, I don't, we do all the, right now you can do your own audio tour. With a cell phone, you can, we did a lot once the museum closed, did a lot of fairly simple tech things with cell phones, tours and interviews and things like that. So you could probably put something together. if you have somebody who's willing to do an app for you to help with that, but we could do the individual.
The other thing, if it popped in my mind, if we're making these signs, there may be a way to etch in a QR code in the sign, specific to that sculpture, and you could just scan it with your phone, and that information would come up in a text or however you wanted to do it about that sculpture and the history of it, and so each sculpture would have its own code, and we just put it on the sign. It would become part of that artwork of the sign. So if the sign has a problem, you just re-etch it, and it's in there. I don't know if that. I know that I worked with that QR process, but I don't know if it would work with the, with the metal yet. I don't know how that would work, but all you have to have is those little square, it's those little square things, looks like Chinese markings or something. And
super careful about maintenance then, just as Scott warned us, because that could easily get whacked off.
Well, if it was etched in, just
QR code takes you to some pornographic site.
Oh. Okay, you discovered my idea.
We're
But I love that idea, John, because I think that's exactly where I would like to see this going. I just feel like, for instance, the Preston Jackson and after hours as well, Catherine, there's so much information represented in that piece. You just can't engrave it on a plaque. You really need some sort of a link to something that's an explanation of what's going on, that has all the stories, and people can dig into it as much or as little as they want. So I love that idea of some way that we could link it.
Well, that's the way it came to me. There'd be something would be pretty easily technology done. Everybody seems to do it. I don't do it, but it's not that unusual. And the larger you make them, the code in etching, the better it would be from any kind of damage.
Yeah.
Because the phone can pick them up when they're only about a half-inch square. The phone picks them up easily. So if it was, an inch and a half square up in the corner of every sign, the people, once they know that, they just scan it and look at the information. Now, how you have that information would be the part that you could adjust and make some of them more, some could have an interview with the artist if it's available, and others would just have a text and a history of it. You could treat each one separately. I'm not sure how an app would work expense-wise. I don't know who we would get to do that, but.
Judy, how are those triggered at the art museum on the phone tours there?
I, having not used it, I don't really know.
Okay.
I think when it's an app, it's just a number that you type in.
Enter a code?
Yeah. But we're really talking about sort of two things that interact, because one is a tour that brings people to the sculptures. Hopefully encouraging kids to explore, seeing things they haven't seen. And then the other thing is, when you find yourself in front of a sculpture, you want to understand more about it. You want to know the artist, or you want to know, there are lots of things that we could do. Yeah.
Well, I wonder if it doesn't all boil down to, we need like the framework that all of this is hung on. We need, I don't even know what I'm looking for, the hub that goes in the middle. And I'm wondering, Jerry, if it's worth talking to, I'm sorry, what did you say his name was?
Bill Wickman.
Bill Wickman. And just get some guidance about how to actually start putting some of this together into a concrete form, and then figure out how we can take from that and go in all these different directions.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Katie. I think that if we can pull together all the information we have on each piece that might be of interest, then that's like a good first step. And maybe just even getting it on a website, on a web page, rather than in a PDF is kind of the first. You could even do build, I don't know what the web development capabilities are for the city's website, but having, even a slideshow where you could go through, if, and just code that to play, that you could see all the different, a photo and a little description of each piece. And then once you have that information, it's easier to repurpose it with different tools. There's app building software. I haven't priced that out to know what, but so basically you don't have a lot of ability to change the design or customize it, but that's obviously less expensive than building your own custom app, which gets pretty pricey. And, if you go with a firm. So there's other things to explore, but I think just having that information and having it on the website versus in a PDF would be a good first step.
Well, we might, I don't know, this might be too grand an idea, but Launch Code here in St. Louis, there are a lot of coding academies, but for their projects, for a project at the end, they work with companies. Maybe they would consider working with the City of Webster Groves and making their end project an app for a tour. I think that would be a really appealing project for somebody. So that's a thought.
Can I just because I'm aware of the fact that we so often wind up wandering off into things that turn out we can't do as a city agency, what can we do that links to the city website, Jennifer? Can we, do we just create something completely separate from the city website and have a link on the website, or can we incorporate, how does that work?
It really, I guess technically you could, but you'd have to have someone who's maintaining that and who's doing all that. And I don't know that the person who does a lot of the website stuff has a lot of time for that. That's me.
Yeah, no, fair enough. You don't need more on your plate. But if, like, how is the Historical Society doing this? I mean, is this bill?
To be honest with you, I have no idea. I've seen none of this stuff. This is all brand new to me.
Maybe it's something we should do.
I don't know if is it the Historical Society or is it the HPC?
It's the HPC, Jen, that's
Oh.
doing a lot of this. And we really are disconnected. You're right.
No idea. I will also say, so we have a redesign of the website coming. I mean, it's been coming for a while, but obviously this year it did not happen. So it's not in process, but it is a thing that is coming soon. So I can also talk to our website company and see if there's some sort of, I know they can do apps, but the only ones I've seen are ones for like the actual city, but I think they do other ones too. I can see what all they've got that's newer technology wise and see what we can put together. Because we're not the first ones who've done something like this. There's got to be stuff we can steal.
Yes, I'm all about not reinventing the wheel. So it sounds like maybe we've got a couple different next steps on this. And I'm wondering if we can, if people are interested in jumping in. Don and Beth, maybe could I ask you guys to follow up with Bill Wickman?
Yeah, I'll get you his info.
And I'd be happy to be part of those conversations too, if you would like.
I do a slideshow very easily on the website. Like if we get pictures, people can send me pictures and, good captions or what have you, like stuff we can use there.
Okay.
That'll be great.
So I think that maybe would be in the second category, which is the content end of this. And maybe this is something that I don't know if we need to assign a role or if people want to just sort of put together what you have in terms of pictures, information, ideas, maybe go through this list and this PDF and just see what else is on here that you would like to change, that you would suggest more, or maybe you have some more information about. I'm thinking maybe that's where we are, and we can reconvene on this next month and try to put something together when we have more information to make decisions. Does that seem like a logical next step?
Specifically the sculpture, the public sculpture, or art sites in the city?
Well, this list, not that we're dedicated to this list, but this list includes everything: arts organizations, performing arts, galleries, education. Obviously, we'll want to winnow that down a little when we start talking about tours, but maybe as this sort of core that Beth is talking about, if we have if we just have this all as information and we can draw from it.
Start out with something doable.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe we could start with the public sculpture as just
Let's
a
start with
Yeah.
focus.
We could, what about doing one for the sculpture garden, just those to start off?
Just to
the walking
sort of
tour and what's there.
learn how to do
We
it.
don't have-
Yeah.
We don't have anything like that, do we?
I don't think so.
Just the placement of the art, a little brochure that you can pick up and we could market it as the sculpture garden in Webster Groves, visit this. You could, almost treat it like a little tourist attraction, that is the historical area. So, and then you'd have a concise thing to learn from.
And it would make sense from then, the next circle or stage would be to do other public sculptures. And then if that works, then we could do art institutions and other.
And keep it area wise like that. So you'd have the tour of Webster University, you'd have the tour of the pool area, whatever we discover.
But sort of make our initial mistakes and learn how to do it and see how practical it is on one concentrated area that makes sense. I think that's a really good idea.
It's a really good idea. Yeah.
Yeah, especially if we're remaking signs, we might be able to implement the QR code idea that John had, but we'll look into what's involved in that.
Because we're bound to, in the process of this, learn a lot of things. You know,
Whether we wanted to or not.
Maybe it's best to learn them in a focused little area, you know. I think that's a good idea.
I want to go back. Judy had suggested that we focus on the public sculptures. And if you look at the list that's here, there really is, for example, no description of a background on any of them. So if you go to the bird, should we have a 1 sentence, 2 sentences, not a paragraph, description of what that is or who that was done, you know, the artist, something that would provide some content behind the pieces in the sculpture garden. You know,
Yeah,
what's the meaning of old school? What is that? There's no background. There may be stuff in my file somewhere on these that we could put together, but I think that's an important piece of this, is to come up with some basic description of each of these pieces.
I think a good physical description is going to be needed anyway, because if we're doing a slideshow, that would be good for the blind browser for accessibility, to have like an actual physical description, but also having a description of the history or whatever is good for other purposes.
It's perfect for the web because you click on something and you get that. You know what I mean? You don't have to have it. You don't have to scroll through it all to, you know, you can just click on it and then get that information as a drop down or a pop up or something. But to me, the list that we have now is almost just like an inventory list. Here's what we own, you know, as opposed to the interest of it or the beauty of it.
Okay, well, again, and I just realized that it's 9 o'clock, and so in the interest of everybody's time, we should probably wrap up. But I do think it sounds like we need to make progress on at least 2 fronts here. One is this content, which is the information and the actual, like what we're putting on this, whatever it is we're assembling, and the other is then figuring out what it is that we're assembling. If it's an app, a website, a walking tour, like what that structure looks like. So again, I think, sorry, Judy.
I was just going to say, maybe we can just, a bunch of us I'm willing to draft several of these things, because then we can begin to see where it's going, get an idea, and back and
So I
discuss.
think, yeah, I mean, I think if people would be willing to take on doing some of that sort of information research, and Don and Beth, and if anybody else wants to join in with that group, can maybe talk to this Bill person from the historical people and see what they're doing and what the sort of the mechanics underneath this looks like. And then we'll have a place to hang all the information as it comes in, and we can reconvene then in February and start putting some things together. Does that seem like concrete steps?
I'm also going to suggest, and I'll do that, a call to Tom Cooper at the library, because I'm wondering, we have a list of all these paint artworks that are in the library. I'm wondering if they've thought about doing something similar.
They have a brochure that you can pick up or they did when you could get to the front desk, that had listings of at least of all the of all the artworks that they had and where they were in the gallery. I don't know how much information they had, but yeah, that's a great idea, Jerry.
That's another whole tour.
Yeah, it is. It's another whole tour.
And Tom updates that often, so it would take constant updating.
And that the at City Hall too, all of the paintings.
Yeah, so I think to John and Patrick's point, I think the idea of let's just focus in on the sculpture garden as a starting point and start making some mistakes there. And then we can sort of add all this in and grow it out from there, rather than trying to start with.
Well, I can make mistakes anywhere. It doesn't have to be at the.
Equal opportunity mistake maker. Yeah.
Citywide. All right, so let's work on that for next month. And then, does anybody else have anything else to bring up under updates or other? Jerry, I know you wanted to talk about numbers. Does this get us closer on budget numbers?
Oh,
Or
yeah, it just gives us something that we can think about in the next month or so ahead.
Well, it
So-
sounds like Scott is going to come back to us maybe with some numbers about lighting, and Judy and John are going to get us some numbers about signage. And then maybe when Don and Beth have a chance to talk to Bill, we can talk about numbers for the walking tour.
Mhm.
And maybe in February, we'll actually have some numbers. Does that work?
That's good. Sounds good.
Are there any other updates, comments? Okay. Well, hearing none, I believe our next meeting is, Jennifer, help me, what's the first Tuesday in
The 2nd of February.
the 2nd, February the 2nd? Is that right?
Yeah. That's what I believe.
Is that good for everyone?
Yeah,
All right.
we
Awesome.
still be Zoomy.
As far, yes.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you all very much. Appreciate
Hey,
everything.
And we need to thank John Ahern for
Yes.
that wonderful Christmas ornament.
Oh,
Yes.
yes. By the
John,
way,
thank you.
Well,
That
thanks,
was beautiful.
Was
thanks
beautiful.
again.
Thank you.
I got plenty of reaction and thanks from it. It was very nice.
And they looked really,
You did a great job.
Yeah.
I sent him an email right away when I saw him.
Very nice.
Very
They look
nice.
Yes. And Catherine, thank you for joining us for the meeting.
Catherine.
Thank you for letting me be here and be part of it with you all this morning. It was really fun and informative and exciting. All
Yeah.
you're doing is great.
Wow.
Excited.
Excellent. Very nice.
Awesome.
All right. Well, have a
Thanks.
good day, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey, Catherine, thanks.
Oh, thank you, Jerry.
Thanks. Join us anytime. It's a good group.
I know everybody was wonderful. Wow.
Yeah,
Great.
it's a good group.
A shaken town, I'm telling you.
So thank you.
Exciting. Yeah.
Thanks for all you do. Take care.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Jerry. Bye-bye.